So I've personally heard quite a lot of people talk about how they've lost muscle during lockdown. In this video, I'm going to talk about how fast you can actually lose muscle and what you have to do as a minimum to maintain muscle. So make sure you stay tuned. What is going on, guys? Adam Scott here from Adam Scott Fit. Welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to talk about the process of losing muscle. That's not a fun topic, but it's been quite true, and especially during lockdown when people have had limited access to equipment, also been training less frequently for whatever reason. So basically, detraining is the term for this. So you're taking someone that's been training and you're detraining them, taking them away from training, time out, or even if you've generally had access to equipment and you've had time out, you might want to watch this video purely because it's not exactly what you think it is. I've heard all sorts of stories before, like you lose muscle within 3 days of not training. Some people feel like you lose muscle like instantly. I'm talking about two different scenarios. The beginner, so let's say between 1 to 3 years, and then someone that's well trained, I'd say 5 to 7 years plus, depending on how you've been training in those periods. So we all have that gym friend or friend in general or family member that tells you haven't been to the gym for a few days and they've shrunk. They've gone back to square one. But I can tell you now, that is not the case. But between the 10 to 14 day mark, what does happen is your glycogen stores shrink. When your glycogen stores shrink, you also lose water. So you do, in actual fact, lose size, and you will appear smaller, but you don't actually lose muscle mass within this period. So the glycogen tanks even shrink glycogen stores shrink, even when you're cutting weight or you're going through a shred or a cut, however you want to call it, you do lose the same sort of size there as well. But the good news is glycogen can be replenished and order can be restored.
Releasing proteins, fats, minerals, and carbs.
So that covers beginner lifters. Now we look at trained individuals, more experienced lifters. So we're going to reference a 1993 study conducted by T. Hortobagi. So basically what he looked at was powerlifters, like highly trained powerlifters with 8 years plus experience. So they're pretty darn experienced. And after 2 weeks of not training, they saw a decline in the size of type 2 muscle fibers by around 6%. So that seems quite significant, but funny enough, there was no actual change in weight. So it's likely again to be the reduced glycogen stores which are affecting the size of the muscle, but not the mass.
This is a very confusing time in my life.
Sounds pretty complicated, but it does obviously depend on genetics. It depends on individuals like entirely, and it depends on what you were doing in the time you weren't training. So if you have good nutrition and you keep mobile and you're not bedridden, if you're bedridden, you will lose muscle within 1 week, like almost guaranteed. But if you stay active, you keep up the protein, keep up your calories, you're unlikely to lose any muscle all the way up to about the 3 week mark. That's probably the common thing between the two. Beyond that, you can try if you want, you can be my guest, but you're probably likely to start losing muscle at quite a substantial rate. I even saw a study, I just can't think of it to reference it right now, where beyond the 8 week mark, people lost quite a lot of muscle. But either way, if you're losing glycogen, it's quite easy to replenish. When I say quite easy, a few weeks in, you'll likely put on that weight, you'll likely increase that muscle size back to where it was to begin with.
I'll be back.
So now you're probably thinking, where do I stand in terms of maintaining muscle? So let's look at scenarios where, say, you have limited access to equipment, or you have limited time to train, or you're traveling, or something along those lines. Either way, you're not going to be able to train the same frequency as you did before. So for beginners, it's more clear cut. You have less to lose and more to gain. So even with quite regular breaks, you can still make significant adaptations and still grow quite a bit. According to Bickel et al. In his study in 2011, even once a week, just training once a week, is enough for a beginner to maintain their muscle and even build muscle, even make adaptations. But that's the beginners. There wasn't too much on trained athletes, but what I can deduce from all of this is if you're, say, training 6 times a week as a advanced trainer, if you're training 2 times a week just to maintain, I think you do a good job maintaining it, but you have a lot more to lose. So try not to go extended periods of time. If you take regular breaks as a highly trained lifter, you're going to experience more muscle loss because, again, you have more to lose. But I think we can safely say if you're not taking a break that's longer than 2 to 3 weeks, you're not going to lose a ton of muscle. Even if you do, you lose the size, you lose the glycogen. You can replenish that with some carbohydrates, enough water, and we're good to go. So this video has been quite short and sweet. I just want to get straight to the point. If you enjoyed this video, give it a massive thumbs up. If you are not subscribed already, click that subscribe button. And if you would like a personalized program from me, wherever you are in the world, whatever equipment you have, reach out to me, adam@adamscottfit.com. Go to my website, I said about 4 W's again, adamscottfit.com, or reach out to me on Instagram @adamscottfit. Leave any comments below, any questions you might have, or any personal experiences, something you may have experienced with maybe extended periods of being off training or something like that. I don't know. Just let me know your experiences so far with lockdown, how you found training, if you've made any gains. I'm rambling, so it's time to say, until the next video, keep pushing those limits.